2020 was a crap year, and it's cliched to even talk about it because that's what everybody says, but it's true nonetheless. But when it comes to home arcades, it was absolutely a bright spot. This was the best year we've ever had. There are a lot of fantastic things that have happened, but if you're an enthusiast for arcade gaming in the home, my guess is, at least in that respect, you had a pretty good year. In this video, we're going to break down what I think are all the highlights looking back at 2020 so we can get ready to look forward. I actually think 2021 is going to be even better. Let's take a look. When I did my year in review video in 2019, I had said 2019 was the best year ever, and it was. Although the bar wasn't that high looking back because it just had to be better than 2018 and we had only a few cabinets to pick from one brand and the quality wasn't that good. Nonetheless, 2019 was a good year for home arcades, but when I made that video, I got something wrong in a big way. I was not confident 2020 would be even better, but I was way off base. As consumers today, we're spoiled for choice in a niche that didn't exist even 3 years ago. I know I mentioned that a lot, but it really does blow my mind. The first big story, and maybe the biggest story in 2020, has been pinball. There's no question. And that's ironic because really the products haven't launched yet. Now, first, let's get this out of the way. There's Toy Shock and there's Well Played Arcades. They're not getting a lot of attention. They're not generating a lot of hype. I don't have a lot of opinions on Well Played Arcade. I think the product looks kind of ugly, and I don't understand why you wouldn't pay $100 more and get the AtGames and get more substantial table. But for Toy Shock, I think that's kind of disappointing. I hope they're able to make some moves in 2021 because let's face it, they had the first mover advantage having a pinball machine in 2019. It looked impressive. I considered buying it. I did ultimately end up skipping it because the flipper lag. And then by the time they iterated on that and fixed it, well, now I'm excited for Mars Attacks and there are better options out there. And I haven't heard anything about their new version, which is going to have the more power and compete more directly with the Arcade1up pinball. So it's possible at this point they've fumbled that early advantage, that early lead that they had. But I'm not counting them out. I hope they're able to figure something out and find a better way to communicate with the market and iterate faster, because those are both things that they frankly need to do. But when it comes to AtGames and Arcade1up, here I am declaring them the winner of 2020 for pinball. But they didn't even really launch the product. Everything came in late. It's unfortunate, it's reality, it's whatever, but I can't deny how much attention they've generated, especially Arcade1up. I mean, let's face it, when you're thinking AtGames Pinball versus Arcade1up Pinball, we're really choosing between higher specs and expandability and connectivity on the AtGames side versus that nostalgia-fueled look and feel and premium licenses on the Arcade1up side. The choice is very clear. And if you prioritize, let's say, expandability over the licenses, then you're going to think you'd be crazy to spend $550 on an Arcade1up model. And you'd be right if that's your priority. The thing is, these licenses are very expensive. I know of a company that sold an arcade product that many of you have bought, and it was a smaller name brand than the stuff Arcade1up is dealing in, and those guys paid many hundreds of thousands of dollars for that license. It's not cheap. It's a lot of money. Arcade1up's probably paying more. Now, I don't know the details of their deal. I don't know if they spend a bunch of money up front or if they pay royalties on the back end. I have no idea. What I know is it costs a lot of money. The Gottlieb licenses don't seem to be very expensive, which is what AtGames is bringing to the table. And then they're assuming you'll install your own stuff. So they're both different approaches. They're both valid. There's nothing wrong with either one, in my opinion. But it's a clear pick. And I think when it comes down to it and these products are out there, you guys are going to be able to pick which ones you want. But so far, judging by early reviews, it looks like both companies have executed pretty well on their vision. Whether or not you like which one vision or the other, well, that's up to you. But pinball has been huge in 2020, but really it's just a primer for what we're going to get next year when these products are actually available at retail. I can't wait. I'm sure in 2021 we're going to be learning about Wave 2 if these products sell as well as I think they're going to. And on the AtGames front, I think they have a huge smash on their hands. It's just a question of can they build these things and get them out the door? Well, we're going to find out. The next story is 3D gaming for home arcades. Kind of. Just like pinball, this is something that really has been promised for 2020, but reality set in and some of this stuff has been delayed. What am I talking about? I'm talking about iArcade and I'm talking about the Big Buck Hunter Arcade1up. Both products were built in 2020. They're starting to trickle out now, so I guess you technically count it as a 2020 story. On the iArcade front, they can run 3D games. They can even run 3D modern games because they've got the specs of basically a low-end smartphone, which might not sound impressive, but it is impressive when you consider the really low-end specs of an AtGames Legends Ultimate or an Arcade1up. It's completely different ball game with iArcade. But so far from their games list, I'm seeing a lot of 3D newer titles and then a lot of retro 2D titles. I think they could add a lot of value by starting to emulate some 3D retro titles, and I hope that we're going to see more of that in 2021. On the Arcade1up front, yeah, they brought Buck Hunter, and yeah, it's a 3D game, and actually, that's one of my more excited games that they launched this year. But I realize it's not a core gamer title. It's not what a lot of you guys would get really hype about. It just isn't. It's a different deal. So it is proof of concept that they can do early 3D polygon-based gaming on their chipsets with their reduced spec over iArcade. It is proof that their chipsets are evolving, that they're getting more substantial. We've got active cooling systems now. We've got clearly faster CPUs that warrant the active cooling to begin with. So we're getting into a world where they're going to be able to give us 3D gaming. And I think that's really going to be the deal in 2021. But 2020 is where you saw it first. We are starting to get 3D home arcade gaming. Sega! Next, we saw Sega. 2020 was the year that Sega joined the home arcade fold. It makes sense because they've got a long history of licensing with partners. Ironically, they used to work with AtGames back in the day, and then now that AtGames is a real force in arcades, Sega hasn't dipped their toe back into that pool yet. I don't know if there's bad blood there or what, but Sega has signed on with iArcade and, of course, Arcade1up. And I know you guys know that because you probably watched my Golden Axe cabinet review. That's one of the best cabinets Arcade1up's ever done, bar none. Arguably, it is the best cabinet they've ever made. That's subjective, but it is a very good machine. I really like playing it. The fact that they're on Arcade1up, but that it's not exclusive, they're also on iArcade, I'm thrilled. I can't wait to see what Sega titles we're going to get in 2021. Thinking of that, in 2020, we got new formats, and that's part of why I'm so excited for 2021, because we have all new possibilities that we've never had before, and I'm talking about light gun cabinets, I'm talking about racing cabinets. I remember when I first started watching guys on YouTube talking about Arcade1up back in 2018, we were excited about Pac-Man. It was pretty basic stuff. And at the time, I didn't ever imagine we'd get shooting cabs, racing cabs, but in hindsight, it was clearly inevitable. There were only so many titles from the 70s and 80s to be released, and these specialized cabinets give even modders or even Legends Ultimate owners a reason to buy a second cabinet. That makes it inevitable, in my opinion. Really, the take-home is, holy we have light gun and racing cabinets at home. I mean, that's awesome. It's like when Richie Rich had a McDonald's in his house. I mean, that's next level awesome.
Don't come! It's a trap!
And I mentioned Big Buck Hunter before. Of course, that's the first light gun game from Arcade1up. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I bet it'll get Arcade1up in front of some new buyers and retail channels, which is going to grow things. And on the topic of Arcade1up and growing the market of everybody in this space, I give them a lot of crap for different things they do, like the lower quality joysticks and such. They're the only company I've seen that is focused on actually growing the market for home arcade, appealing to new folks. Everybody else, there are no exceptions to this. They're coming to the table trying to sell to us who are already here. I think that's why everybody else is so much smaller than Arcade1up. I think that's part of it. There are some other things like Arcade1up's patent that protects their form factor, and there's other stuff that you may or may not agree with. But at the end of the day, these guys are out hustling, trying to grow the market. I don't see anybody else doing that, and that's something that I don't think will change in 2021. Guys, stay tuned for part 2, which will be coming in a day or two. I very much appreciate you watching. Not only did the home arcade space grow, but this channel grew as well this year, and I attribute that 100% to all of you for spending some of your time with me, watching these videos, engaging, your comments, your feedback, the good stuff, the bad stuff. It's all great, and really, I appreciate it. I wish you all a happy 2020. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. Let YouTube know this was worthwhile, and they will promote it accordingly. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Hey, consider hitting that join button to support the channel, and thanks so much for watching.